So here's a stack of books and a comic book. Thought we could look through right now. You might hear some rain. We've been getting some crazy weather here today. I'm in the south, so you might have heard that there's supposed to be a lot of crazy weather today, this afternoon, so you might hear some of that. Kind of thought I'd start with this one. It's called This Fabulous Century, 1900 to 1910 by Time Life Books. I think this is the only one I have, but what I really like about it is the carpet bag cover. Really do like that a lot. I only found this one. I don't know if the rest of the set has the same cover, but I really do like Time Life Books, and so this one is a little worse for the wear, but this is also one of my favorite time periods in history. I like this picture. I'm presuming this is probably Atlantic City, or but see all of the people on the beach at the turn of the century and how their beach wear. So they didn't have bikinis and so forth, or Speedos. They were very modest when they were on the beach. On their way to a train station with a newsstand. This very much, if in a big city, if you're using the metro, you'll find the newsstand on your way to the metro. Like a foot race, and look how the dresses they're wearing. Some newsies picking up their newspapers for the day. Some parade. I'm not sure what the occasion is. Probably like 4th of July, or with all of the bunting everywhere. Steam engine. I love these old pictures a lot. You know, if you think about it, we're actually kind of, we only have about 200 years of photography. I mean, not even. I mean, it is really cool that just the way we've been able to record the last couple centuries, it's unprecedented in the history of the world. I mean, we have paintings and stuff, but oh, look at this. New York City as it will be in 1999. This was an artist's conception of what the city will look like. Look, blimps, these modern-looking buildings, seaways and canals. Just a really interesting idea of what sort of the stuff, man's trappings of the time. The hard collar, the collarless shirt that you see in old westerns, them wearing shirts like that, but generally speaking, they're supposed to have worn a collar with it and then a tie under it. That's how it's supposed to be. The watch, some photographs, glasses, his walking stick, straight razor, cologne, the compass, just sort of like the man's trappings of the time. Gambling stuff, cigarettes. These are vices. They represent. So you have your Lucky Strikes, your cigars, tobacco and wine, a little guillotine. That's actually a cigar cutter. Just barbershop. The Cosmopolitan Saloon in Telluride, Colorado. I've seen this picture before in my Time Life Old West books. Crowned in laurel wreaths, an Olympian assemblage honors the theatrical promoter Harrison Gray Fisk, front row, third from left, at a lush dinner about 1901. See how they're all wearing the little like the Roman or Greek little olive wreaths in her hair. Well, let's just point out who these people are. That's Arctic explorer Robert E. Peary, General Leonard Wood, William Randolph Hearst, William Jennings Bryan, Richard Harding Davis, J.P. Morgan, Booker T. Washington, and Teddy Roosevelt. And now this next chapter, sort of Teddy Roosevelt centric, showing all the different things he did. This is about immigration, showing like Ellis Island and how all the lines they had to get through to get in. Old world beauties greeted by American bachelors. Doing homework in the dreary confines of their New York tenement, an Italian immigrant family earns a precarious living by making artificial flowers. And then aviation, the Wright brothers, 1903, first successful flight at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Children, baseball card collecting. Like, see if I don't have any. These are not real, by the way. These are reproductions. If that was real, I could retire. But these are... The real ones are much smaller than these, but these are reproductions of how they looked. Yeah, if I actually had this card, I could retire. Comics. Oh, these are the Yellowback dime 10-cent, the dime books for kids. The predecessor to comic books. You know, this became this. Youthful investigators, urged by a rather heavy-handed message from the blackboard, tackle the Eskimo housing question during a 1904 geography lesson. So they're making little igloos. Learning about flowers. Look how kids dressed for school back then. Music lessons. That's what the playground looked like. Pretty high up. If these kids fell, they could really crack their skulls. This is a great little picture of an old hometown. Wow. Post office, the drugstores, the church, all the dirt roads. Getting a bite to eat. Under hats pegged to the wall, town workers and visitors on business are served family style by Dexterous short order cook in Sheets Restaurant on Main Street. You know, I always figured that the food back then would taste so good compared to now. Drugstore prices. Cantaloupe sundae 15 cents, a sundae 10 cents, egg drinks 10 cents, tonic water 10 cents, a root beer float 5 cents. I think when they say egg drinks, I don't think they mean literally egg. I think an egg cream was the name given to a frothy soda concoction. I don't think it was really made out of eggs though. There's a dinner menu. Radishes, cucumbers, channel catfish, omelet with jelly, rhubarb pie, green apple pie. It gives you all the prices for all these stores, like grocery prices. Toilet soap, 3 for 15 cents. Lye, 5 cents. Garden seeds, 2 for 5 cents. Golden cream corn, 10 cents. That's canned goods. Jams, tomatoes, early June peas, 10 cents. Staples were tea, coffee, cocoa, macaroni, hominy grits, sugar, salt, salad dressing, baking powder, and gelatine. Interesting. Department store prices. Dress goods, home furnishings, menswear, and ladieswear. Vacation photos. All these girls made it look like they were beheaded, and it says Bluebeard's wives. This is a girls basketball team. Corsets. The headwear. If you look at old footage from this time period, all the women wore large hats like this. I mean, we were coming off the Victorian times. This was the Edwardian times, but we were, the standards hadn't changed very much. Really, shirtwaist, which was like the blouse, didn't really come in until around 1910. So they were still wearing the dresses and the corsets at this time. Modesty. The Gibson Girls. This is football without the helmet. Look how her waist was cinched up from that corset. This shows you a street and all the rich people who lived on it. Evelyn Nesbit super famous at this time because of a scandal between these two guys. Her husband and her former lover. He shot him. She was forced to testify in his defense. Kind of drove her crazy. He ended up in an insane asylum. He ended up dead. She just kind of vanished away after becoming kind of a semi-celebrity. Look at the opulence people lived in at this time. And it shows all the yearly salaries they had to pay for special chefs and housekeepers and nurses and all this stuff to maintain their lifestyle. The motor car just started emerging at this time. All of the things. Emergency food to keep in your car: 2-gallon canvas water bags, 4-pound packages of hardtack, 4-pound cans of meat or fish, 2 pounds of sweet chocolate, 2 cans of fruit, and personal luggage. Good Lord. For road tripping. I love that old Oldsmobile ad. 12th year of Oldsmobile. Oh, I really do like this part with all the old car ads. Nickelodeons. These are early cinema stars, I think. Maud Adams, Ethel Barrymore. Maud Adams she was a stage star. This photograph right here, in fact, if you're familiar with the movie Somewhere in Time, this particular photograph was the inspiration for the photograph of Jane Seymour's character in that movie. The author of that book had actually gone to a hotel somewhere, I think it was in New Mexico maybe, and he saw this photograph on the wall, and that's what inspired him to write Somewhere in Time. And that is Maud Adams. And it is a haunting photograph. It really is. So just a little tidbit of trivia if you're a fan of that movie. Sheet music. Circuses. They just don't exist anymore, really. I don't think they even exist anymore. Now, here's what's really interesting. Notice the font of the chapters, and this is about summer days and reminiscing. Think about the sort of nostalgic approach to this book. Now, consider this. This was published 1969. So, this was recent history, and this is stuff that could be appreciated by people who were not that old, who might be buying this book, and that's why it's almost done like it's a nostalgic album instead of, like a capsule of history, which is interesting. Let's look at another similar kind of thing. This is, now, this book is called America's Affluent Age. And, this is, the authors of this book, the other books they did was American Daguerrean art and American miniature case art. Basically, these authors are mostly interested in the media of the time, and they put together a book called America's Affluent Age with an emphasis on daguerreotypes and the media of the time. So it gives you a picture of the affluent age between the 1840s and 1850s. This was copyright 1971, and it's a fairly haunting book because it shows, it's full of these old pictures, daguerreotypes, and it's, many of these are, I've never seen them in any other publication, but it's a snapshot literally of how people lived, how their houses look. There's a few woodcuts, but mostly it's photographs. So this is, you know, a long time before the last book we just looked at. 60 years before. And there's some color ones. They were tinted. They often took pictures of dead people at that time. This is an 1847 picture of a deceased young girl. More color plates. You see how they tinted the pictures back then? Young Abraham Lincoln. That's Prince Edward. He's the son of Queen Victoria, who would usher in the Edwardian era after the Victorian era. Become King Edward. He was already very old, I think, when he took on the nun. These were Shakers. These were a religious cult. Didn't last very long because they didn't believe in procreating, but they believed in dancing. Oratory. Oratory was encouraged for gifted students. Basically, speech classes. Back then, it was a bigger deal than it is now, though. Being an orator was considered a talent. This was in the days before television and movies, when being a good speaker was much more important than it is now. Walt Whitman, Henry David Thoreau. Early picture of what he looks like. I had to read a lot of him when I was in school, Walden and so forth. An aerial picture. An aerial photograph in 1860. That's pretty cool. Had to have been done from a balloon. I think it's the cover picture. Yep. Mexican War. There's not a lot talked about it, not a lot of pictures of it. One of the little discussed wars in American history. An American Home, 1842. It's just a hunting picture. This little almost silhouettes of the children here. Kind of creepy in the little dog trot part of the house where the wind blew through to kind of air condition it. And a lot of people will ask the question, why did people not smile in pictures back then? Well, there's a lot of reasons, not just one. One reason was, this is 1845, he would have had to maintain that pose and expression for quite a while as the picture, as they opened the shutter and took the picture. He was probably braced by something from behind, like a metal brace. That's one reason. So it was a bit uncomfortable. Number two, they were many cases they were wearing clothing they didn't normally wear comfortably, that was provided by the photographer, so it didn't make them feel comfortable. Number three, they didn't always have good teeth, and maybe that was a way to look their best without, smiling and showing possibly rotted teeth. So there were many reasons. hairstyles at the time. Mostly this book is just a photographic history. There's a lot of text that discusses the times, but mostly this is a flip-through book to look at pictures to give you a sense of what things and people looked like at the time. Now this whole last chapter is all about photos of the deceased. These are mourners, but they often took pictures of the deceased. And that's an undertaker. And we get to the next. So, interesting little time capsule book. And I got another one that might be interesting here. This is Live It Again, 1942. It's by Good Old Days, featuring the best of the Saturday Evening Post. So, I can't remember where I got this. I think I got free at an adopt-a-book thing. It's a nice little book. It's just pictures from the Post. (1942), another way to I mean, it's mostly just a picture book. Little cartoons. So this is kind of like a little gift book. There's Jimmy Stewart. Clark Gable. Charity Adams was the first African-American woman to be commissioned an officer in 1942. Did you see this? People literally scrapped their bumpers for the war effort, so they drove their cars without bumpers. It's little things like that we tend to forget. When the country goes through a rough time, sometimes extraordinary measures are taken for a temporary period of time, and then it goes away. And sometimes we forget how extreme those things were. That almost looks like Pixar, doesn't it? All this advertising and the car ads and spam. big band music. The radio shows are just one of my favorite things to listen to. Well, famous birthdays. I hope you enjoyed this little look at the past through these books. And Bob Ross was born in 1942. So anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up just so I'll be able to upload it, because if it gets too long, it takes forever to upload these things. So anyway, I will continue this in an upcoming video. Just keep flipping through some of these interesting books. So I hope you enjoyed it, and please rate, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Bye.